In the heart of Ouagadougou, Burkina Faso was experiencing a delicate moment after years of political instability. Under the leadership of President Ibrahim Traore, the country was trying to rebuild itself, but rumors of conspiracy began to circulate behind the scenes of power. The population was divided between hope and distrust, while military officers whispered about dissatisfaction. Amid this tension, Commander Umaru Yabre, a discreet and astute man, noticed troubling signs. Yabre worked tirelessly at the military headquarters, analyzing reports and monitoring suspicious activities. One night, while reviewing confidential documents, he noticed something unusual: encrypted messages between senior officers and external figures. These communications appeared to be coordinating something larger, something that could compromise national security. His instincts told him that something serious was about to happen, and he decided to investigate further. Meanwhile, at the presidential residence, Traore was discussing strategies with his trusted team. Among them was Mariam Diallo, a dedicated diplomat who shared his vision of a better future. "We need to keep our eyes open," said Traore, concerned about potential threats. He had no idea that a deadly plan was already underway against him, orchestrated by people close to power. In the barracks, murmurs of discontent echoed through the corridors. Colonel Soro, an ambitious officer, exchanged discreet glances with other conspirators. Yabre noticed these subtle signals and began to investigate further. He knew that any wrong move could jeopardize his position and put the country at risk, so he decided to act with caution and intelligence. That night, as he walked through the streets of Ouagadougou, Yabre observed families gathered at the doors of their homes. He thought about the future of these people, about how their fate depended on the choices made today. He felt the weight of responsibility on his shoulders and decided to act before it was too late. He knew that time was crucial to prevent a tragedy. The first signs of danger emerged when Yabre intercepted an encrypted message. It mentioned a secret operation to overthrow Traore during a public ceremony, taking advantage of the distraction. To eliminate the president and seize control of the country, the commander knew he needed to unmask the traitors quickly. Time was running out, and he would be the only one capable of preventing disaster. Yabre summoned his trusted team to assist him in the investigation. Among them were Lamine, a seasoned veteran with years of military service, and Kadidia, an expert in technology and cryptography. Together, they began unraveling the encoded messages. "We have little time," said Yabre, urgency in his voice. "We need to dismantle this network before it's too late." Every minute counted, and the pressure was palpable. Kadidia managed to decipher part of the communications, revealing alarming details. The plan involved high-ranking military officers and foreign support. They intended to orchestrate a coup during a public ceremony, using the distraction to eliminate Traore and seize control of the country. Yabre realized the danger was greater than he had initially imagined, and that the conspiracy had deep roots within the institutions. During a strategic meeting, Colonel Soro attempted to probe Yabre, casually asking about his recent activities. "I'm just ensuring our operations align with the president's principles," replied Yabre, revealing nothing. However, he realized that Soro was involved in the plot, making him a direct adversary. A confrontation between the two seemed inevitable. Traore continued to lead the country with determination, unaware of the imminent danger. Mariam tried to warn him, but he dismissed her concerns. "I trust my men," he said. "They know what's at stake." Nevertheless, Yabre knew that blind trust could be fatal. He needed to act quickly before the coup was executed, but he also had to protect the president. The tension escalated with each passing day. In the barracks, soldiers whispered about dissatisfaction and promises of change. Yabre realized the plan wasn't just political, but also personal for some officers. He knew he had to expose the conspiracy before it gained enough momentum to destroy everything. Every move made by the conspirators seemed to increase the risk to the country. As he analyzed the intercepted documents, Yabré felt the weight of responsibility. He knew his actions would not only save lives, but also reaffirm the values of loyalty and integrity that the country so desperately needed. The fate of Burkina Faso rested in his hands, and he could not afford to fail. Every decision made now would shape the future of the nation. With Kadidia's help, Yabré identified the key conspirators. In addition to Colonel Soro, there were Captain Cone and Major Ouedraogo, who maintained frequent contact with foreign agents. They were receiving detailed instructions on how to execute the coup, and their intentions were clear: seize power by force. Yabré realized the plan was more elaborate than he had initially imagined, and that the conspiracy had international backing. On a rainy night, Yabré confronted Lamine. "We can't simply arrest these men," he said. "We need to expose their intentions to the president and the people." Lamine agreed, but warned of the risks. "If we fail, we'll be the next ones in the line of fire." Despite his doubts, Yabré decided to move forward, determined to protect the country. He knew success depended on precision and strategy. During a visit to the training field, Yabré crossed paths with Soro again. This time, he didn't hesitate to confront him directly. "I know what you're plotting," said Yabré firmly. Soro tried to deny it, but his nervousness betrayed his guilt. Yabré realized he was facing a dilemma. Should he denounce him immediately or gather more evidence? He knew any mistake could compromise the entire operation. As he weighed his options, Yabré reflected on his mission. He knew his actions would not only save lives, but also reaffirm the values of loyalty and integrity that the country so desperately needed. The fate of Burkina Faso rested in his hands, and he couldn't afford to fail. Every decision made now would have lasting consequences for the country's future. Mariam, concerned for Traore's safety, decided to investigate on her own. She uncovered signs of suspicious movements among the officers and decided to alert Yabré. "We need to act together," she said. Yabré agreed, realizing that collaboration would be essential to dismantling the conspiracy. He knew the task couldn't be done alone. With the evidence in hand, Yabré planned his next move. He knew he needed to publicly expose the conspirators, but he also had to ensure Traoré was protected. Time was running out, and he needed to act with surgical precision to prevent disaster. Every second counted, and the pressure was immense. The operation to dismantle the conspiracy was launched at dawn, when Yabré called a secret meeting with Traoré and his trusted team, including Mariam, Lamine, and Kadidia. He presented the evidence he had gathered, detailing the names of the conspirators and their elaborate plans. "We need to act now," he said, urgency in his voice. Traoré listened carefully, realizing the gravity of the situation and the imminent risk. On the day marked for the coup, Yabré coordinated a covert operation to neutralize the conspirators. He personally led the arrest of Captain Cone and Major Ouedraogo while confronting Soro in a tense encounter. "Your betrayal will be remembered as a warning," said Yabré firmly. Soro lowered his head, defeated, but still tried to justify his actions, claiming he acted for the good of the country. The operation was a success, but Yabré knew the work was not yet complete. He organized a press conference to expose the conspiracy to the public. "This is a moment of reflection for our country," he said, emphasizing the importance of loyalty and transparency. The people applauded his courage, but also questioned how such betrayal could occur within the government's own ranks. Traoré, deeply moved, thanked Yabré for his dedication. "You saved not only my life, but also the future of our country," he said. Yabré, humble, replied that he had merely fulfilled his duty. He knew the true challenge would be rebuilding trust in the government and institutions, something that would require time, patience, and collective effort. Mariam, proud of Yabre's work, decided to continue supporting Traore in his mission to transform the country. "We have much work ahead of us," she said. Yabre agreed, realizing that the fight for stability was far from over, but that the first step had already been taken. Their collaboration would be essential to ensure a better future. At the end of the day, Yabre walked through the streets of Ouagadougou, watching children play under the dim light of the street lamps. He felt a sense of relief, but also responsibility. He knew the future of Burkina Faso still depended on difficult choices, but he was ready to face them with determination and courage. Every decision would shape the destiny of the nation. With the conspiracy dismantled, the country began to slowly rebuild itself. Traore announced measures to strengthen transparency and combat corruption. He also promoted Yabre to a more prominent position, recognizing his contribution to saving the nation. "Your actions were extraordinary," said Traore in a public speech, moving many citizens who now saw him as a symbol of hope. Soro, Kone, and Ouedraogo were tried and convicted for their crimes. The case served as an example to anyone who considered betraying the country. The population, though still skeptical, began to regain faith in the institutions. Yabre saw this as a sign of hope for the future, but he knew that distrust would not disappear overnight. Rebuilding trust would take time and had to be done gradually. Mariam led a civic education program, teaching young people about the importance of political participation and social responsibility. "The future of Burkina Faso is in your hands," she told students during a lecture. Yabre, present at the event, applauded her dedication. He knew that educating the new generations was essential to prevent repeats of the past and ensure a fairer future. Lamine and Khadidia continued to support Yabre in his mission to protect the country. They worked together to strengthen national security and prevent new threats. "Our fight is not over," said Yabre, reminding them that vigilance was key to maintaining peace. They agreed, knowing that the work would never be fully complete and that challenges would always remain. Traore, inspired by Yabre's courage, intensified his efforts to build a fairer and more equitable country. He knew the road ahead would be difficult, but he was determined to leave a positive legacy for future generations. Yabre admired his perseverance and continued to support him unconditionally, even as new challenges arose. Their partnership was crucial to the country's progress. At the end of it all, Yabre reflected on everything that had happened. He realized that despite the difficulties, the country was on the right path. The future was still uncertain, but he knew that unity and loyalty were the keys to overcoming any challenge. His mission now was to ensure that hope prevailed over fear and that the people could once again trust their leaders. Burkina Faso began to slowly rebuild itself, but with determination. The streets of Ouagadougou came alive again as people resumed their routines with a renewed sense of hope. Yabre, now a nationally respected figure, continued to work behind the scenes to ensure the country's security. He knew his mission was ongoing and that the work would never be fully complete. Traore announced an ambitious plan to modernize the economy and improve the quality of life for the population. He highlighted the role of Yabre and his team in preventing the coup, emphasizing that unity was essential for progress. "Together, we can build a better future," he said in an emotional speech. His words resonated throughout the country, inspiring many to believe once again in the potential of Burkina Faso. Mariam, now an influential leader, continued to promote educational and awareness programs. She saw her work as a way to ensure that future generations would not repeat the mistakes of the past. Yabre admired her dedication and knew the future was in good hands. He often consulted her on social issues, valuing her perspective and commitment to the country's development. Lamine and Khadija decided to remain by Yabre's side, forming an inseparable team. They knew the work of protecting the country would never end, but they were ready to face any challenge. "Our mission is eternal," said Yabre with a subtle smile. Together, they strengthened national defenses and monitored potential external threats, ensuring the country was prepared for any eventuality. As he watched children playing in the squares of Ouagadougou, Yabre felt a sense of accomplishment. He knew there was still much work to be done, but he also realized the country was on the right path. The future was uncertain, but full of possibilities. He thought about the next generation and the legacy they would leave for them, hoping they could live in a fairer and safer nation. Finally, Yabre reflected on his journey. He realized that, despite all the obstacles, Burkina Faso had demonstrated its resilience. The fate of a country depends on its choices, he thought, and we chose hope. With that certainty in mind, he moved forward, ready to face the future with courage, knowing that every choice shaped the destiny of the nation, and that the work of building a better country would never end.